Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. Actually, welcome and Happy New Year, right? Because when this drops, we are in 2020.
Happy New Year.
New decade, new all the stuff that everybody's been saying around and all that kind of stuff.
New year, new me, motherfucker.
This means bringing in prohibition and flapper dresses again. We're bringing it back.
That's right. It's the 20s.
I did see an article where apparently LA is turning Art Deco. The restaurants
city?
and the trendy restaurants and the trendy clubs are all going Art Deco.
Oh,
very 20s.
For the decade?
Full
or
Gatsby.
Is this on purpose, or this is just how the world is working?
The way it's progressing. At least that's what it was portrayed in the article. That's
trade around the world we're living in.
Forced trend.
Hey, that's Eric Morgan over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa Williams over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly Young. We are going to be actually counting down our top 5 favorite films this year, each of us going around and around. But before we get to that, you guys, I saw a movie, and I think you guys saw a movie, and I think we need to talk a little bit about it.
I feel like the nation has seen this film, if not the planet.
Yeah.
Good chunk.
It has not surpassed even The Last Jedi on box office right now.
I have heard that. Yeah. It's not financially quite as good.
Well, so we're talking about Rise of Skywalker, supposedly the final Star Wars film to deal with this Skywalker family.
Sure.
Is that what the theme was of all three of these films?
Well, this is supposed to be the last film about the Skywalkers. Everything else will now be spin-offs.
Oh. I mean, I just didn't know what the purpose was of any of the films at all. I just figured people were like, let's just Star Wars more.
Well, since Star Wars people go nuts, shall we be nice and try to be somewhat spoiler-free? It's only been out
I feel
a little
like
bit of time at this point.
I feel like the people who want to see this movie have seen this movie, so I don't know. Do we care about spoilers on this? There were not very many shocks in this, right?
No, I didn't think there were.
Okay.
Disappointments, maybe.
Well, here's
I was surprised by a few things.
Well,
let me air my grievance, my biggest grievance.
The airing of grievances.
It was shoehorning dialogue in to fit dialogue that Carrie Fisher had already recorded before she passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was weird.
It was so obvious that they were like, what can we have her say so that Princess Leia can respond this way?
Well, a lot of those shots were already recorded.
Right.
So they had all this leftover footage and they're like, how can we stick this in?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But those shots were recorded without background, without anything.
Right.
So they were scenes from The Last Jedi that were not used because she died before that was even finished.
Oh, interesting.
This wasn't stuff that she was filming for this movie at all.
Yeah.
Oh, she's in the same costuming and everything like that. Not that Star Wars changes costuming a lot in general.
That's true. That's true. I felt like, Ray, really? You're going to wear the same outfit now? You're planet hopping? You're
I feel like that flappy thing is still in your way.
Right.
If you're Jedi flipping around, are you not going to get snagged on a branch somewhere with this thing? No.
So overall feeling on this movie, you guys?
I finally figured out what mine was overall. To all the Last Jedi haters out there, sorry, man. I freaking love Last Jedi. After the end of Last Jedi, I went on this Star Wars kick where I'm like, I'm going to read all the books, the comics, and catch up on everything.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, man, this is great. After I was done watching Rise of Skywalker, I was like, all right, that was a Star Wars movie. Cool. And no desire to do anything other than go, watch the last couple episodes of Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what I did after watching Star Wars. Yeah, I much like you, I really, really enjoyed Rainn. Oh my God, I almost said Rainn Wilson. Jeez.
Rian
Johnson. Oh my gosh, brain. I really enjoyed his version. I felt like it was very true to the characters that we'd seen in like the first. And a lot of people are like, but Luke regressed. I'm like, yeah, he regressed. He's a fallible character. My God, I'm sorry. Was Yoda not just flipping around a bunch for you? He was just being a dick. Wow, that's got to be hard for you to deal with. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But with this film, there were things about it. The larger arc worked really well for me. I felt like they spent the right amount of time building it across the 3 films, and I felt like it resolved in a really satisfying and interesting way. But the tiny stories underneath were, I mean, it was just a tidal wave of information. It was just like, I don't know why we had these characters in any of these films at all, because I could care less. They don't have any, why are they here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree mostly with that. I overall enjoyed it. I had some story issues, and there was a particular plot point that was just there to make the movie about 30 minutes longer, and I hate shit like that.
Yeah. That's true.
I liked Last Jedi a lot. Also, I hated the very slow space chase, and I hated the side quest to Casino Planet.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
yeah.
I really liked Luke's arc in that film. He was basically Yoda in that film. When we first meet Yoda in Empire, he's
hiding out
on a planet.
Snotty.
And being a dick.
Smacking people with his cane and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know?
So I didn't have a problem with that.
Milking animals.
Well, the Last Jedi felt like it was taking chances and going to open up the world.
Right.
And make the Force and everything involved with Star Wars bigger and more epic. Like the little kid with the broom. What happened to him? I mean, what?
Who knows?
Well, I think that was the point, was that kid would grow up to be somebody. This, I don't know, I liked it because it subverted expectations.
Last Jedi?
Right, yeah.
Everybody
Yes,
was just
exactly.
like, I know exactly where this is going now, and it did not go that way. So I enjoy stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they really need to open up this universe if they're going to keep telling stories. And having everybody related to each other and then bumping into the same characters from 30 years later seems really weird.
Yeah.
Especially in the universe where you can like hop across it. How are you running into these
Good
people
point.
on these random planets?
Clearly thousands of populated planets.
Right.
And you keep running into the same people. That's some crazy odds.
Yeah, I definitely had an issue with that. And it was very frustrating because it felt like, to me, I felt really unhappy that they didn't have a pre-plan for all 3 films ahead. Like, I felt like if you're going to do a trilogy where you really want to honor the Star Wars universe and make it something greater and bigger than what we'd previously seen, you should probably have very specific bullet points for 3 films that create a big arc. And instead we got one film where we felt like everything else with J.J. Abrams, we felt like we were going somewhere specific, but probably not. The middle film where, he's picking up the pieces and continuing forwards, and maybe not the direction that was intended, but then they probably should have known where they were going. And then the third one where they're going back towards something that we didn't even know we were supposed to be going towards in the first place, and then rushing it through the end. And it just felt so frustrating.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any spoiler to say that the Emperor is part of this film. We hear his voice and all that stuff in the
It's
trailer.
in the trailer.
And I really liked how he plays into this.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of foreshadowing in either of the other movies that this was where we were
Might have
going
been
would have been
useful.
interesting and would have made it feel like, oh, they did have a plan.
Oh, totally. Like in the visuals in this, there was some amazing stuff going on. Like it was a joy to watch. Yeah. Unless you have epilepsy, do not watch this movie if you have epilepsy. You will not survive. But yeah, there was just great stuff to look at. It's just, yeah.
I was unfortunately put into a bad mental state for the film right at the beginning with the opening crawl where I think it was
The Dead Speak
with 2 exclamation points. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, everybody knows it's 3 exclamation points. If you're going to do more than one, it's 3.
Saying that at all was unnecessary. Making it, because you go through the whole thing and it explains it all anyways.
Yeah.
So that was just strange. Like, oh God, I hope the rest of the writing of this is not that.
I didn't mind that because it felt
Smack
very
in the
much
face.
in the style of the old serials that they've always been following. So I didn't mind that. And a lot of stuff in those crawls tells you stuff that hasn't happened, on screen. So I was kind of fine with that. But
the rest of the crawl I thought was fine. I think it was just that thing.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, and there was like it's funny because with the end crawl, I don't think I've ever once read the end crawl, so I'm just like, or the beginning crawl, I guess, because I'm like, oh, there it goes. It's kind of yellow and hard to read. Good luck. I'll just enjoy the story now. It was interesting because the fanfare, I think, is also something that really frustrated me, because fans were angry about certain things that this film seemed to have collapsed in on itself to make them happy. Did you guys notice
Look,
that?
nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
It's true.
They will complain
Yes,
about
this
every
is
fucking
true.
thing. This movie was
Why
all there to
accommodate
just
them.
I think that JJ was just trying to do his best for himself and for Disney. I'm sure that they said, "Please come back and save this. This is what we want." And he said, "Okay, I'll do my best."
It's just really frustrating when it.
Well, the weird part about that is that Last Jedi financially did really well.
Yeah.
The only part that was a problem was all the whining online. So if as a filmmaker you go, what? I should never listen to this whining because it's going to happen no matter what I do.
Right.
So I should be the creative person in this creative team I put together. We should come together and do the movie we want to make.
Right.
Because no matter what we try to do to please other people, we're always going to piss off somebody else.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And like the loudest voice of all is, of course, are the young white males who are like, "Oh my
Young?
God, I'm
I
not,"
don't know.
or middle-aged white males who are like, "I'm not being properly represented in this film series, and therefore I'm angry, even though we're in a universe with lots of aliens and they don't look like me either, but they're okay because they're Wookiees."
Because they're totally different.
Yeah, no, it's just really frustrating to be like, "Oh, we're going on a mission, except you."
Oh,
That really frustrated
Yeah,
me.
that was weird.
I was like, it was weird. It was really weird. And then they introduced a character who is a safe character
yeah.
because they can hang out with the other person that looks like them.
Well, interesting.
And it gives us all a very okay feeling inside because it's not multiracial. It's not. It's what we want. It's what we expect.
You know
People
what, though?
should stay in their lane.
That character was paid off in a very creepy moment. at the
Very creepy
end
way.
with
Very creepy way.
75-year-old Lando Calrissian saying something that I am still wondering what the fuck he meant by.
I mean, I can only assume future stories are what they hope out of that, but I don't want to see them, frankly. I don't want to be on that adventure.
I'll say this: there was a mention of Luke and Lando that were trailing a Jedi hunter, like a side mission earlier at some point in the history, and I was like, if they don't make a animated Pixar style Star Wars movie with that adventure voiced by Mark Hamill and Billy D. Williams, I'm gonna riot.
Oh my gosh, actually, that's such a cool idea. It never once occurred to me to further explore that, but at least those like freaking horrible side missions would have a reason.
Yeah.
Which would be great.
All right, I think we've dumped enough
Yeah.
on this film that we all claimed we like.
Well, that's the problem with these kind of things.
I feel better. Thanks, guys.
So what we're going to do, we're going to jump into our top 5 favorite films. I don't know about you guys, but I did not go on any kind of weird thing other than, this is the movie I really liked this year.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best movie of the year or anything like that.
Yeah, oh, completely. I
Yeah.
went solely off of my own enjoyment, and I think it shows.
Do we think
Interesting.
Do we think any of us have the same flicks?
I wonder. I think we'll have a couple of the
I
same.
don't know. We might.
I know that I've got one at least that I think we all liked a lot.
I think one or
So-
two on here are definitely going to
And what we're doing is picking top 5 genre, but then I figured we'd go up and talk about other films that are not genre that maybe we loved, because if I had to, my
definitely.
top 5 favorite films of the year are not genre
Would be
films.
very different.
Right. Yeah. I kind of snuck a few in there, but I can rearrange them if need be.
Well, cool. Why don't we take a little break, and then as soon as we come back, we'll jump into it. Sound good?
Nagamaru!
It's the Star Wars Creature Cantina that you put together. Action figures each sold separately. You can make them move on revolving discs with the action lever. You can even make them fall.
Gotcha, Hammerhead! Got him. I told you not to follow me, Guido. You owe us money, Han Solo. You're not gonna collect this time. Wow, what a weird place.
Kenner's new Star Wars Creature Cantina. Action figures sold separately.
And we are back. We're talking top 5 favorites of the film. I thought we'd just kind of go in order and list them off. Eric 5, Vanessa 5, my 5, then back to Eric for his 4. Sound groovy?
Sounds good.
Eric, you want to
Okay.
start us off?
Yeah. I'm starting off way down the radar for folks. Crypticon's 2019 winner for Best Feature Film.
Oh, okay.
And it's called, I've talked about it before on podcasting a little bit, but $6,000 film called Live Scream. Started its festival run in 2018, but didn't come out on DVD and Blu-ray until 2019, so we're good there. Directed by Michelle Inatuno.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Well, yeah, that's the only starring.
Feed him.
Starring Gunnar Willis, so you know.
Okay.
Who was in Vice Principals and Ozarks.
Oh, nice.
This is a movie I could very easily see people being driven absolutely nuts by and not liking at all. And when I first started watching it as a submission, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. And by the end, I'm going, good Lord, I hope I'm not delusional. And everybody else that's in the judges end up liking it, and it easily got selected. It's pretty much Gunnar by himself. He's the only character on camera in the entire movie. And it's one, if you've ever watched a Twitch stream where somebody's playing video games.
Oh, yeah.
And they're talking about playing video games. That's the whole movie. So it's the Gunnar, and then one side of the screen is Gunnar, and the other side of the screen is the video game.
That sounds awesome.
And that's it. I haven't watched I just saw that the Blu-ray was out, so I actually ordered it like last week. So because I really want to look at the making of and hear some of the audio commentary, because it feels like and looks like he did the whole movie in one freaking take.
I remember you talking about this afterwards. So did they have to then create graphics for a fake video game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
How did the video game look? Did it look fun?
It looked fine.
Oh, okay.
It looked fine. It looked more reminiscent of probably Doom.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that as far as the graphics level.
So nothing you have to, sometimes I have a problem when you see in a film they've made a video game and it just doesn't look like fun to play.
Right,
and you're like,
yeah.
why are you playing this? If you're a nerd or a gamer or anything, like, this is awful. So.
It had a little bit of that, to be honest. The interaction with the people, I mean, there are people interacting with him. So he's the only one visually on screen, but he's not the only one you see in the movie or hear from in the movie. But it is incredibly well paced, moves really well. It's not particularly long, maybe that's why it moves so well, but it is just really smart, fun, interesting, super low budget filmmaking. So again, that's Live Scream, available. I think it's available streaming a few places too, but also on Blu-ray and DVD. You can buy direct from the director and have her sign it.
Oh,
we're good to go.
You know what? I might do that. I might go online and, 2020 would be a great year to give money to local and real, actual working artists. So why not?
There you go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
So, oh God, now I got to commit. Dang it! Now I have
We'll
to
check back with you in March.
You're gonna look at my accounts. So my number 5, I think I'm the only person on planet Earth that liked this movie.
Okay.
It's called Dead Don't Die, which you guys might know as that Jim Jarmusch zombie movie that everyone hated.
Yeah.
And I walked out of it with a completely different experience, I think, than anybody else. And I don't know if it's because I'm an editor / filmmaker / study a lot of movies or what it is. But I mean, you guys like films. You've probably seen early Jim Jarmusch pieces.
Yeah.
One of the original indie filmmakers of all time.
Sure.
I felt like that was a film that was literally trolling the genre, and it did it in such a cool way. Like, for example, they have a old Disney Channel star that shows up randomly, and then they do sexy shots of her, and then they kill her. That's like in a zillion films. Plus, like other big films that their stars are in, they're gonna make little nods, like to a keychain of the Star Wars vessel on Adam Driver's character's keychain or whatever. You've got artificial stock lens flares in there that you can totally purchase online. Like, I've actually seen and used some of these, so you know that they're just completely cheap. And I just felt like it was a constant like poking at like, this is what all the zombie movies are about. And you know what? Like, let's just tear that can of worms open and then throw some deadpan characters at it and see what happens. And I just really enjoyed it, just watching it constantly going, oh my God. And now he's making fun of, the Night of the Living Dead. And now he's making fun of, the way in which big sci-fi films do this or that. So yeah, that's kind of my number 5.
Wow, I count me in the hated it camp.
Sure,
but
yeah.
I completely understand that I hated it because I thought it would be something that it was.
Right. And I think that's exactly what happened. That's probably why it failed so hard. Is I don't think he let anyone in on the joke. If I'm right, which is a big risk, which I'm totally not going to say that I am right in this approach to it. But I think a lot of people expected a zombie movie. That's why.
I expected a funny movie, and that is not
really.
What
You expected a funny movie out of Jim Jarmusch
with that cast with Bill Murray.
Even with Bill Murray,
Yeah,
come on. Have you seen Coffee and Cigarettes? It's not that funny.
I did expect that because the trailer was much funnier than the movie.
That's 100% true. It marketed itself very differently from what it was.
Marketed the film as a comedy.
No, I'm right there with you. I think that it got the failure that it led itself to that space. So
weird.
Yeah.
You have not seen
it. It was attacked so much by so many people that just kept falling down the list. But knowing, and I also had the reaction of that filmmaker making a comedy. Okay, I'll see it at some point.
Right.
But knowing he didn't make a comedy actually makes me more intrigued to see it.
I think if you watched it, I would love to know what you think, because if you start breaking it down into how you would assemble it, if you had that as your own personal challenge, I think it becomes really interesting to see like, oh, maybe he's doing this for a reason. I wonder what that reason is.
Yeah, I will have to check that out, I think.
That's why we're doing this, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. I mean,
we don't have to agree.
We'll probably inevitably have some crossover, but if we all had the same ones, what a shitty year it would have been for film.
Yeah.
My God.
Well, I'm pulling out for my number 5 a weird one too, a very polarizing film, and I think you both have seen it, and it is called The Perfection.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This was a Netflix original. It was directed by Richard Shepard, and it stars Allison Williams, who you may remember as the evil girlfriend from Get Out. And she plays a brilliant cellist who has had to step away from that for years to take care of her ill mother. And then when she comes back in, there's this other young, beautiful cellist who has taken her spot at this illustrious school. And she kind of goes on this weird revenge thing. But as the movie goes along, you're not sure who she's actually trying to get revenge on. And it starts off kind of as it feels like you're going to be watching maybe a zombie movie. And then there is a twist right after it gets into the zombie part, and you're like, what the fuck am I watching? I heard somebody say that it was the closest thing an American film had come to making a South Korean horror film, and I have to say that that's exactly how it feels. It's a real mindfuck of a movie.
That's good description.
Oh my gosh, I actually have not seen this, but that sounds. I mean, the trailer made it look really interesting to me anyway. So
I think that you might like it. It's a good film. It's well made. Steven Weber is in it from Wings. And he's great. I know. How often do you see something like that?
Not often enough.
And then hear the guy go, and he's great.
Yeah. This former sitcom star is in it, and you're really going to like him. And no, it's not Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, lots of twists and
Ted
turns.
Danson.
It's called The Perfection, and it is on Netflix.
Well, instead of just me doing each first one, do we want to round robin and even more? He's in consistent mode. God damn it, I don't want to get out of confusion. Okay, my number 4, also probably stepping away a little bit from this, but it's definitely friggin' horror, is the documentary Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't caught that one either.
Oh, it's so good.
Good call on this. I didn't even think about pulling out documentaries.
This one just popped as looking through my rear view. It's by Xavier Bergin, but easily to find. It's on Shudder. It's a Shudder release. And if nothing else, I want them to do another one strictly with Ken Foree and Keith David talking for 2 hours about whatever the hell they want to talk about.
Yeah.
That is. But it's a really interesting retrospective on the history of black representation in horror films and how underrepresented it is or how well represented it is in certain films. There's a lot. One of the criticisms I heard is there's a lot of Get Out in it. which kind of, well, it was kind of an important one.
Yeah.
Do they
pretty
talk
successful.
about? I assume they talk about Candyman pretty extensively.
Yeah. Ken Foree's in it, and
Played Candyman.
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd, yeah.
Yes.
he talks a lot throughout the documentary.
Wow. Does he
Which-
sound coherent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
And he's
Okay.
got such
I'm
an
glad to hear
amazing
that.
voice that you're just like, well, I'll listen to this
Just-
guy
yeah.
just rattle on
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
he's going to
Just
talk about.
close my eyes and hang out with Mr. Todd.
Yeah, and a lot of the like the 70s blaxploitation stuff, and then much earlier. It's really, really interesting.
Oh, fascinating.
Well worth checking out. I mean, that kind of covers it. It's it's really good. Go watch it.
Horror Noir, yeah, that is a Shudder exclusive.
My number 4 is probably one that is going to be on both your lists, most likely, which is Us. So this year we had the second Jordan Peele horror film extravaganza. I thought it was really wonderful insofar as like just the thought that went into it as far as crafting this notion of duality and consistently using this imagery throughout the film, whether you expect it or realize it or not. I liked the Alice in Wonderland references and the kind of playing around with the following the rabbit down the hole. There's a couple of points that I'm still a little confused on as to why. So I'm not going to put it at number 1 because those still kind of bug me a little bit. Like the hands across America thing, I'm still a little confused. And the ending was great, and I have no problem with that. But yeah, I just thought it was a really strong second film, and I'll just pretend like Twilight Zone never happened.
Well, remember, he doesn't have anything to do with Twilight Zone except as a narrator. He's not.
Oh,
even-
really?
I don't think.
Oh, I
he's-
thought he wrote it.
It's sort of like a Wes Craven or Stephen King Presents kind of movie.
Oh,
where
I totally thought I was like really disappointed. Oh, I feel so much better now.
He might
Yay.
have produced a little bit
Well,
too,
like
but I think it was
executive produced, maybe.
Exactly. Here's my
Oh,
name.
my God.
There you go.
Oh, whew. All
Yeah.
right.
On the other hand, I didn't like Us.
Really?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I
I'm
liked
so
parts
surprised.
of it, but overall, I was kind of like, I wanted something a little stronger
Right.
because I liked Get Out so much.
I mean, did you find it at all bothersome that it wasn't about race?
You know what? Maybe I did.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I know, 'cause
but
I
I'm
think
not
that's
sure that
part
it
of-
wasn't because the Hands Across America and everything.
Yeah.
That's definitely an indictment of what was going on in the 80s
Right.
as far as what we were doing as a country and how superficial we were.
You know,
How-
it's really tough
Definitely.
to. Yeah, it's really tough to kind of figure out the placement on that because I know I saw a couple of interviews where he said it wasn't about race, but I feel like you can't help it. It is still on some levels going to have, some stuff about race in there. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
I enjoyed a large portion of the film. I thought the expositional scene at the end really hurt the whole movie for me just
Yeah.
because okay, for all you people that we feel we're going to insult our audience here and explain everything that happened, even though you can pretty much see exactly what happened.
that's true.
That hurt the film a lot for me, partially because I think Jordan Peele's a much better writer-director than that scene
Yeah.
gave credit.
No, I think you totally are onto something with that.
But the stuff in the house, overall, I enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
when you leave the movie and you don't really like the end, that hurts
Yeah.
the whole movie experience.
No, I totally understand that. I think I really liked all the questions it had me wrestling with afterwards that I really had to sit down and think through and try to puzzle out, which is something that Hereditary had done for me as well.
Oh, yeah.
Where I felt like I really needed to think it through to figure out, oh my gosh, what did this symbol mean? Or how was this character connected to this thing the whole time? I was frustrated with there was kind of the main spoiler part of it, so I won't mention it necessarily. But there's a thing that is A, very, very obvious, and B, really irritating. And C, makes it so the story doesn't make sense as far as their big reveal at the end. So that's why it's not number 1.
That's
Us.
I mean, it's not a bad movie. I'm not going to say that. What the hell's wrong with you?
No.
But it just was not.
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad to hear that you guys didn't have it on your list.
No.
Sweet.
For my number 4, I chose an A24 film that might have
Whoa.
a kind of happy ending.
What?
I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's very controversial. Under the Silver Lake. Which
Oh
is
my God.
it is directed by David Robert Mitchell. It is his follow-up to It Follows. It's a neo-noir. It's very strange. It's got some crazy David Lynchian moments in it. It's got some super creepy horror moments in it. Some scenes that are like right out of the scariest movie you've ever seen, but the rest of the movie is not like that. Andrew Garfield is a star, and he is so spectacular in this as this kind of slacker nobody who gets caught up in this. At first, it's just this weird thing. He's like bored out of his mind, so he's following this chick that he met and everything, and then she ends up dead. And now he's like, I've got nothing better to do, and this feels weird to me, so I'm going to kind of investigate. And it leads him all over this amazing spectral version of Los Angeles that has never looked cooler. I mean, it's Los Angeles today, and you're like, wow, if this is really what Los Angeles is like, it must be amazing. Unfortunately, you know, for you who live in Los Angeles, you know it's barbed wire around your exit signs on the freeway and couches on the side of the road and all that. Los Angeles is just a fucking cesspool anymore, but this movie makes it look awesome and fun, full of mystery and everything. I'll be honest, I don't know if this is a good movie. I just loved it so much, and it just stuck with me forever. I keep seeing the scenes that I liked, because there's some fucking weird shit towards the end when things start getting explained. You're like, what? And the best part is Andrew is so put out by everything too. He's like, what the fuck is going on? And you are with him the entire way because he reacts the way you would if faced with some of the answers he's given. Now this is I'm putting this on as a technicality because it was released everywhere else in 2018, but did not get a U.S. release until 2019. It got a very limited theatrical run and then went straight to streaming. So.
Oh man, I'm thrilled that you mentioned that movie. I loved that film.
Oh, I'm glad.
Oh my gosh. And it did the same thing. When it finished, it just sat on me. And I just was obsessively thinking about it and playing back through and trying to work out what was going on.
Man.
And I spent like hours talking it through with the person I'd watched it with. And I was like just dissecting it and being like, this is with this and this psychological thing and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't agree more. It makes Los Angeles just look like a wonderland.
Yeah.
Like a dreamy, wonderful idea of what it could be, but I think in a better way than what La La Land did.
Oh, well, yeah,
because
I would
it's got
agree.
that weird element to it, which is
It's got a weird, cool element.
Yeah.
If you're 25, this might be your favorite movie in the world right now.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I actually think that there's a lot of thought and a lot that's going on in that film, because the more you start to pull at certain threads, the more it makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is just brilliant.
And I'll say this, Andrew Garfield is alive at the end of the film, so that kind of counts as a happy ending, right?
You know what? I never even thought of this movie as an
There you
A24 film. Happy is a really interesting walk away.
It's all subjective. Considering what he went through, I was like, this is not going to end well for him.
No, you got something there. But yeah, I'm not going to count it. I'm going to keep my search going. You can have that be your happy A24 film.
So that's my number 4, Under the Silver Lake.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that one just because I think it follows your description of what that movie left with you. It follows that all of that too, where it's a lot to dissect, a lot going on. He's an amazing filmmaker.
You're just going to love it for the visuals because, then like you or like me, you probably felt like, I don't know what's going on, but who cares? This movie is so cool to watch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was trying. Yeah, like moments happen. It's very almost Lynchian at times because you're like, I don't know why a guy in like a giant animal suit is sat there talking to somebody, but I'm okay with it. Right. I don't even know if that happens, but it feels like it did happen. So I'm just going to, because it's just, that's the way that movie is. You get pulled from place to place on this bizarre journey across the city, and I didn't mind a single moment of it.
I'm so glad that
That's
you've even
awesome.
seen it. Everyone I've talked to has been like, I never watched that one. So.
No. It was one of those ones that I was like, oh, it's on the pile, and let's go ahead and watch it today. And oh my God, I was blown away.
Nice.
So number 3, I think you'd mentioned this, and I can't remember if you loved it or hated it, but it made it onto my list. Daniel Isn't Real.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that.
Directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer, which is just an awesome name, so I got to go with it. Stars Miles Robbins and a guy whose last name is recognizable, Patrick Schwarzenegger.
What?
He's a surprisingly good actor.
He's the son,
very
right?
good. Yeah. He got a lot of his mom's looks.
Yeah.
It's a very. He looked. I look at going. why does this guy look oddly familiar? Because he really doesn't look. If he's, I looked at a picture of him standing next to Arnold, and you can see it there, but you separate the two of them. It's like, this is the story of a guy who's got an imaginary friend who may or may not be real. Maybe Fight Club with far more violent consequences in a lot of ways, I guess.
Yeah, this is almost a cross between Fight Club and The Dark Half.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good.
Because you are wondering, how real is this imaginary friend? Some shit is going on here.
He does all the right things for Daniel, or Daniel does all the right things for his real friend or whatever. But eventually things start to get darker, and his verse gets darker, and he gets confused as to what he should do. Personally, I guess we're going to go deep here for just a second. Sorry, folks. We've talked before in the past. I don't know if we've talked when you've been on the show, but about trigger warnings.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, my mom is suffering from dementia. That opening stuff with his mom, holy shit. I mean, that is like... But I appreciate those moments in films because to me, a film is a place that's not real. So when I'm confronted with the reality from a film, I think it's a great opportunity to go, all right, let's just dive into this and feel what's going on. Yeah. And, it's not the main part of the film. And it moves past it. But, man, that opening few scenes with the mom is like, oh, crap. But, God, it's because it's really well acted. It's really well done. It's beautifully shot. It's a really, really neat looking movie. That opening segment may have set me up for it to be a lot more tense for me for the rest of the film, which is great.
Yeah, this is on my runner-ups. It was close, but I don't like the ending. The ending got just a little too weird.
Okay.
And otherwise, I loved it because, he gets this imaginary friend when he's a kid, and so it's the same age as him. And when the imaginary friend shows back up as an adult, the imaginary friend is also an adult now.
Interesting.
So it was
crazy,
cool and creepy. Yeah, I did love this movie. Might have been like my number one movie of the year if it hadn't had the ending it had.
Oh, okay.
I was so put off by the ending that I was just like, God damn it! It's one of those movies where you're like, this movie could have been amazing, and now it's like almost amazing, which is sometimes worse than bad.
Kind of like what we're just saying with Us was for me, where it's like, oh, it's really
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Weird endings are okay by me, but you know that.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Happy Death Day to You.
Wow. Okay.
The continuation from Happy Death Day, which is actually one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Wow.
I really loved it. Yeah. It is so Happy Death Day to You is basically Groundhog's Day, but with an evil serial killer masked person. And the girl keeps this sorority chick keeps waking up and getting killed and having to kind of puzzle out what happens until she doesn't get killed. And all this kind of weird stuff is happening along the way. You're not sure if she's getting sicker or, there's something happening where she's not recovering as well. And so, time is limited. So I really enjoyed that because the character arc was so strong in the original, where I completely believed her going from this horrible, shallow human being to this thoughtful, strong person who's willing to deal with their own issues.
Yeah.
And the follow-up for that, for Happy Death Day to You, basically starts off by erasing the successes of the previous film and forcing you to do it again, but now it's got a sci-fi twist on it. So it's no longer really a horror film, it's actually a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I liked this movie well enough. It didn't make my list, but I did like that all of a sudden they explained, like almost at the beginning of this movie, they explained why it happened the first time, and you were like, oh, this is interesting.
Definitely. Yeah. I thought that as far as sequels go, it completely went in a different direction than I expected. And it was really enjoyable in its new way of approaching a problem that we'd already seen. Like I hate Groundhog's Day personally.
Wow.
I know I'm not good at watching repetitive stuff. It's not super fun for me, considering I'm an editor. That sounds really weird. But anyway.
I do enough of that in my day job.
Exactly.
Damn
That's
it.
my day job. I don't want to do it now in my time off. But they do it in such a way that like it actually is kind of a relief, and you're always like rooting for these characters, and you want this emotional progression to be occurring and these relationships to be in the place where you are hoping they'll go. And that extra struggle of trying to beat out this kind of resetting clock is really enjoyable.
Very cool.
Nice. Boy, that was one I did not see showing up on anybody's list.
You're welcome.
That was one I hadn't caught, partially because, and now you've intrigued me to actually want to see it, because I was it just going to be
More of the
Happy
same.
Death Day to you too?
Right. Yeah.
That sounds like a very cool take. So, nice.
Yeah. Okay, mine was one I just saw. My number 3 is one I just saw recently, and I just fucking loved it, and I recommended it, and I bet neither of you bothered to watch it, but it is called Freaks.
Ha! You're wrong.
Oh, good.
No, you're right on my end.
It was directed by Zach Lipovsky, and it stars Emil Hirsch and Bruce Dern, and it is a man, Emil Hirsch, who is keeping his 7-year-old daughter kind of captive in their house, not letting her go out or anything like that. And it's because she has superpowers in a world where superpowered people have been outlawed. And this is one of those things that we've been talking about, which is if you're going to continue telling comic book stories and movies, that you got to figure out a different way to do it, because we're all getting just a little bit tired of the next Batman, Superman, or Avengers film.
Right. Well, I'm curious. You mentioned comic, but is this an original story or is this based on a comic book?
Oh, I never did any research on that.
Okay.
I have been under the impression that it is an original story, but I don't know if that's true or not.
It is really good. I agree with you. I think it's an amazing film. Really, really interesting to watch. I got like halfway through it. I'm going, is this the one Kelly was talking about? Because I just watched it like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it is. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's relatively new. I think it's only been out for, I don't know, a month and a half maybe.
Yeah,
And
it
I was
is
a little
very
surprised that it made my list, because I just fucking loved it. So, number
Cool.
3, Freaks.
Well, going to the idea of maybe not super, super great films, but goddamn entertaining. My number 2 film right to this year was Ready or Not.
Oh, all right.
Also my number 2 film.
Oh, is it?
Fight. I
think we're in agreement.
Be ready to shank each other. It'll be great.
And it's all about the fun. The film is just freaking fun from beginning to end. It starts up, it moves. It doesn't go in a straight line, but it moves really, really well from weird point to weird point, and never feels, for me, it never felt contrived. It didn't feel like, well, that was a stupid leap. It felt like, that's an amazingly weird way to take this, and I like it. Now that's also an amazingly weird way to take it, and I like that too.
Yeah, it had some nice twists and turns.
Oh, it's just so much fun to watch. Just like, okay, I can do this one again. Let's watch it. Ready or Not 2. I don't care if it's a retread of the first one. Let's go for it.
And not only that, but I'm ready to watch Ready or Not again. I was
Yes.
just like, now I want to watch it again, knowing how this is going to end.
Yeah, actually, I think it would be really fun to watch it again. Although I will say there's a moment, and you guys probably get this all the time in movies, but I don't think they do this very often with girls, where she injures her boob really badly. And I cannot, like, every time I think of the film, I just see that and I'm like, oh my God, that looks so painful. Just duct tape your boob back together. For the love of God, stop hurting yourself. Ugh. Yeah.
Yes, it was very much that Rambo First Blood kind of moment where you're like, oh, that's just gotta hurt.
Like, oh my God. Oh,
The movie does not shy away from the gore, that's for sure.
no,
There's
it's
an
not.
awful lot of blood in this movie.
Pretty brutal at times. Oddly humorous brutality at times too, like the first kill. Oh my God. And then you kind of laugh. It's like, oh, I feel bad.
Well, that being said, actually, I mean, Kelly, do you want to jump in as to why you liked it?
I'll get around to it since it's on my
I'll give you
list.
some time
Remember,
to
he's
think about
keeping the
it.
list. It's in order.
I know. I thought I'd offer if you wanted to have a back and forth. So my number 2, it was definitely a contender for even number 1 for me. I just loved it so much, which is One Cut of the Dead.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I loved that movie.
I thought it might be your number 1 even.
It was up there. It was really, really up there. it was such a joy. And I know I talked about this previously on the show, but it was just such a joy to watch as an editor and from like a story standpoint, where you see a version of the film up front and you're like, oh, that was okay. I don't know. That was interesting, I guess. And then you see it from a new angle and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then you see it from another angle and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And even like into the credit sequence where you're just like, holy cow, you guys, the amount of time and energy it must have taken to just structure this thing is, I mean, that alone, I feel like that should be a freaking Oscar contender. It is such an amazing film.
Yeah, it was one of those when, maybe. I mean, it was in and out of my top 5. I really enjoyed it too.
It was such a joy. I knew nothing about it going in. No. I just sat down for like a random free screening a friend of mine invited me to, and I was like, why is this movie only half an hour long? And then I was like, oh, we're still here? And then I was like, oh, yes. Keep me here for as long as you like, movie.
This is one I just did not get. I thought it was fine for what it was. And maybe this was just me also wanting it to be something else.
Sure.
But liked it just fine.
Yeah.
But everybody else I know, this is definitely on everyone I know's top 5 list, except for maybe Eric's, I guess.
Yeah, it's close. But I hear that movie 1917 is a single shot film.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. I'm super excited.
Although,
not a true single shot, but
yeah,
it's
of course
structured
not.
to be.
No way.
Or else that would be
logistically
any of them
impossible. Is there any film that's actually a single shot?
even Rope isn't. I know
Rope is not.
There's some kind of
and they only had
trick
so
he did
much
at one point.
length in the reels. He just went into the black on people's like backs and stuff.
Somebody back or go into the
Or a
container
whip
or something
pan.
like that.
Cut on something like that. But yeah, I know Russian Ark is supposedly, but I don't think they had. I think it was shot on film, so I don't think they could have.
Yeah, Hardcore Henry came out, and I know that
was fun.
That sits as kind of a one-shot thing because it's all POV, but it's clearly digitally
not.
made.
0%. Yeah, no way.
It's all one shot. We sat in front of a green screen. We put the guy, and we just played the movie in front of him.
It's no big deal.
Right. Well, as said earlier, my number 2 was also Ready or Not, directed by Matt Bettinell-Olpin and starring Samara Weaving, who I fucking loved The Babysitter. I know that
she's
were
great.
That was so cool.
And then she was great in Mayhem. Did either of you watch that on Shudder?
Did. Yeah, Mayhem. I actually like that more than Babysitter.
Yeah, so I really like her. I think that you hit it on the head because my first note says this movie is just fun with a underline. The cast is amazing. Adam Brody and Andy McDowell are part of her family that she has to, fight against. And I have a soft spot for movies that are the most dangerous game. And this is the most dangerous game in a really big mansion. And
with an actual game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. and I love that throughout there's this, you kept saying about the twists and turns. There's this thought of, is this a satanic movie or something? Or is it just a bunch of crazy people who think they're worshiping Satan?
Yeah.
Which is great. Like having that question linger in the air the whole time is just really fun.
Yeah.
It gives you the right kind of ambiguity.
And they do answer it too, which is nice.
Yeah. They take a very firm position.
They do not end on a you decide ending, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's just got a really wicked sense of humor. The gore is over the top, but there are scenes, like you said, where something happens and you kind of cringe because on occasion the gore looks very realistic. Although on other occasions, not so realistic at all. Just a ton of blood suddenly.
Okay, for my number 1, I went a very different direction from number 2. This was one that also showed up in one of the film festivals I work on with the Issaquah Film Festival with Tigers Are Not Afraid.
I want to see that so bad. I started it last night and saw it had subtitles and had to turn it off because I wasn't able to pay attention.
Falling asleep.
I was building a speaker system.
I thought you had seen this already.
I have not.
Oh, Vanessa, this is your kind of movie.
I've missed it like 4 times running. It's my Moby Dick.
Okay, I mean, I think it's actually really on a very easy to watch service.
You know what? Some of us have different problems in our lives.
guess
Okay,
so.
Apparently.
Ahab has the sea. I have time.
Written directed by Isa Lopez out of Mexico. Based kind of, not exactly obviously on her own life, but she was orphaned at 8 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so she, for me, I wrote down a bunch of descriptions for the word. Very simply put, this film's smart, disturbing, unnerving, uplifting, but ultimately kind of crushing. And it is incredibly well done. It's all really young actors.
Man, and they are fucking great. I was watching this going,
Lord.
where do they find these kids that can act like this? They're
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, they're like 10 and under. I think the
Whoa.
oldest might be 12 or 13. The danger they're in, the situations they go in. If you've ever seen a film like City of God, it's kind of got that aspect of it, but it has magical elements that bring it more into and some really creepy scenes, some nice little horror elements that come with those magic touches. So it straddles the line really well to where the magic and the horror feel very real in what's going on in their world. They don't feel like, oh, now we're going to have this magic moment that takes you out of the film entirely.
Also, the kids, maybe because they're kids, you feel like their reactions to everything are realistic. Because as a kid, I think you're more open to something like that happening. You know, you're scared of shit under the bed still. So having stuff like that happen and just kind of rolling with it felt real to me.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, if you can't watch films where bad stuff happens to kids, you do not want to. I say maybe don't watch this one.
Yeah, this is one when I told you I wasn't sure why it wasn't getting a much bigger release here, and you were like, well, I think I know why. And once I thought about it, I was like, yes, of course, American audiences are not going to be cool with
Some of the stuff that happens to these kids.
the danger these children are being put into.
Yeah, it's not. Some bad guys are chasing us. Oh no,
It's not a Spielbergian kids movie.
No.
So
Yeah. That just frustrates me though because of things like, but Les Mis is acceptable because it's a French musical that we should all value and respect, and a kid does not do well in that. So several kids don't do it anyways.
I hate Les Mis.
I've seen it like 8 times on stage, and it makes me cry, but it's not necessarily good. I'm sure the book is much better. It's just an emotional thing.
yeah,
It's like it's an early version of through the numbers emotional string. So
Yeah, very
I can see
sad.
that.
anyway, so yeah,
Your favorite of the year?
my number one. I feel like it's very, very obvious. I'm going the opposite direction of you, and I'm just going to go ahead and follow the cattle off the cliff on this one. And I'm going to go for Joker.
Wow.
Whoa,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful film. I think it went in an interesting direction that DC has not previously been brave enough to go. I thought the acting was insane. The movement, the way he twists and turns his body, his voice, his expressions, it all felt very, very satisfying to me in a way that, I don't know, it's very easy for comic book fans to be pissed at anything, just like Star Wars fans. So of course there are going to be people who are like, but the Batman genre doesn't have the Joker, even though it's based on an actual graphic novel, guys. I'm sorry, but it is. It's actually called Joker. You can now get it in softback as of I think this week. So guess what? It exists. But also I just feel like it was very good at addressing how somebody can become that particular kind of character. And maybe we didn't need the origin story, but I don't think we needed half the Batman movies we've had so far. I mean, it's no Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because that takes the cake, but it's up there.
I will agree that the acting was spectacular. Have we heard as Joaquin being considered for an Oscar?
I don't know.
'Cause he should be.
I don't think the Oscars have been announced yet.
No. Did he get a Golden Globe though nomination?
Oh, did he? I don't know.
I haven't actually
he
looked
did.
into
I'm
it.
not sure.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk about it though.
Yeah, he should be.
As you may be able to hear, my neighbor is vacuuming the walls, apparently. And
Really dusty walls. I was going to say something to you, but you know what? Now that it's come up naturally in conversation, it's time you vacuum these things.
Well, okay. My number one, I'm embarrassed to admit, is also Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Whoa! Oh my gosh, you guys. You're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, so, we already
Whoa.
said it was directed by Isa Lopez and stars, the little girl was Pablo Lara, and she's just so amazing in it.
good.
I did the same thing you did. I've got about 1 million words here, beautiful, sad, wonderful, uplifting. I guess it's not horror, although there are horror elements. It's definitely like a urban fantasy, but done through the lens of like Pan's Labyrinth or something like that.
that's
It's
a good
really
one.
dark urban fantasy.
Yes.
They get these kids are, it's a gang of orphans that are basically out on the street, and most of these kids' parents have been kidnapped, which apparently is a fucking thing that happens in Mexico.
What?
And so the kids are just kind of left to fend for themselves, and they see a drug killing, and then they're on the run from these much eviler people, and this girl has a piece of chalk that grants her 3 wishes, and so she's got this piece of magic with her, and throughout the movie you're like, is this really magic? Does she just believe it's magic? What is going on in this movie? God, it's just so fucking gorgeous. The kids are the selling point of this. Their acting ability is, better than anything we're throwing at the screen these days.
Did you see what her next project is?
No, I hope it's with Del Toro.
It's a werewolf western.
What? Wow. That's cool.
Del Toro could definitely be shepherding something like that. That would.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those people that if you told me her next film was a romantic comedy, I'd be like, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this is somebody that you're like, I got to see what she does next.
Well, part of why I think both mentioned Del Toro is because unlike presented by the Wes Craven and Stephen King, like we were jerking before, Del Toro's put his name and produced some incredible films.
Yeah, The Orphanage is one of my favorite films.
God, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about you. I had a difficult time, so I did have some runner-ups that I just want to give a real quick mention.
Yeah, please.
I really liked Bliss, which just came out recently, which was the vampire artist druggy horror film. Really slow burn until it isn't.
Yeah.
Wounds. Have you guys watched this? It's a Hulu original. It's body horror, cockroaches, kind of a Cronenbergian film with Armie Hammer in it as a guy who finds
Sorry, what was that title again?
Wounds, Wounds. He works at a bar, and he finds a cell phone there that got left, and later the next day he's just kind of fucking around. He's kind of smart and figures out the password to get in, and starts flipping through the pictures and starts discovering some very, very disturbing stuff, and then his world just kind of goes out of control. And then, of course, I know it's got to be on yours, Color Out of Space.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
That, is going to be released next month, or I guess it would be this month now.
Yeah.
But it didn't qualify for a 2019 release.
So it'll be a 2020.
By the rules we set up ourselves, we'll be like, well, because we have it's on its festival run right now.
Right.
But it's not getting a wide release till 2020. So, okay, that's probably true.
It turns out Lovecraft, Richard Stanley, and Nicolas Cage is a potent combination. I really loved that movie.
I'm looking forward to all the people telling us how stupid we are and how much they hate it when it gets wide release.
That's fine. I mean, I can see a lot of people not liking it for a lot of the reasons that we did like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild and crazy.
Are Cthulhu fans just as bitter as Batman and or Star Wars fans?
Yeah, but throw in, sprinkling of racism on top of that.
Hooray! Racism for all.
Sexism. Well, that's in the others too. Special mentions too for me. Color Out of Space, One Cut of the Dead was in there. A few others that I kind of liked that were weird as hell that just were an interesting experience. Have you seen In Fabric yet?
Not yet.
That one's really strange.
Boy, it got really good, but fuck, it takes forever to get there.
It's not a easy watch. By any means. It's also very look at me, I'm making an art house movie.
Yeah, it really is art house horror, but it heavy on the art house part.
Yeah. See, Little Monsters. Everybody else see this one?
No, I keep hearing about it. How did you watch it?
It's a Hulu.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I saw the trailer a lot, and then it just kind of disappeared with a kindergarten class gets trapped in the middle of a visit to a zoo or something like that.
Right?
And then a zombie outbreak things. So the teacher's main goal is to keep the kids from having any idea of what's really going on. And it's adorable and pretty cute. I forgot the guy's name. He plays Olaf in Frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Plays a raging dickhead, a live action Barney kind of character that happens to be at the zoo at the same time. So he's still funny. So,
That's on Hulu. I'm watching that tonight.
Lighthouse was interesting. I don't know if I'd call it good.
You didn't give us your review on that. Vanessa talked about it. I didn't realize you had seen it since then.
I have done the deep dive when we decided we're going to do a top 5, and I spent a few late nights. Unfortunately, Joker was one I didn't get to, and a couple others that I just missed out on. But I think I had a similar reaction to you. The performances are amazing.
Stellar.
And his speech about the lobster.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Great.
I don't know if it's planned or what, but you're just like, this is magic.
Yes.
This is magic with language.
Yeah. But it is ultimately kind of nothing.
You and I disagree on a lot of movies, but I trust you to know what kind of movie I will like. Well, I like this.
I don't think you're going to like this.
All right, good enough. Good enough for me.
Unless you really want to see why Robert Patterson should be allowed to leave his vampire history behind.
Twilight.
Because he is so good. And obviously Willem Dafoe's already established himself long ago as being a fabulous actor.
I like Pattinson a lot, and looking forward to his Batman.
Oh, yeah. I
be
keep forgetting
interesting.
that's happening.
How about you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Under the Silver Lake was actually on my list of
nice.
mentions.
Yay,
So
cool.
yeah, I loved that film so much. A couple of non-genre ones that I really liked in there. But as far as genre ones, did you guys see Hagazusa?
Yes.
I have not, but I've heard that.
I watched about 40 minutes of it, I think.
Well done for making it through 40 minutes. So there was a reason it didn't make it on my list. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
But I really can't say that it's worth getting all the way through.
Yeah, I did watch all of The Lighthouse, even though it has.
I think you should fast forward to the last 30 minutes of Hagazusa,
okay.
and you can just watch it at 2 speed to make it through even that last bit. But you should see where it goes, because it's kind of interesting where it kind of builds up and eventually takes you. But I don't know. It was pretty, and I applaud them, but at the same time, I just oof.
That reminds me, I can't believe I didn't put it on here, but Toombad. I know that you saw Toombad, and it's Indian horror.
Was that was this year? I thought
that was this year, and I was going to put it on my list, and then it just kept getting pushed back further and further.
That would have been on my.
it's-
I thought it was 2018 for sure, so I didn't even look at it.
Well, it was
I love that film.
U.S. release 2019. That's why it was going to be on my list. Tumbaad, I believe, and that's also on Shudder. But
Sounds
just
awesome.
like a Clive Barker-y kind of weird,
Ooh.
just bizarre horror.
Really, really good.
You had non-genre stuff you wanted to talk about? Because I
there's-
wrote down a bunch.
Yeah, there's one especially that I would really like to mention, which I don't think enough people went and saw, which is also a documentary called They Shall Not Grow Old.
Oh, I've heard a lot about this.
My God, that movie, it is probably, I would say I've never had an experience in the theater like that in my entire life. What Peter Jackson did was take these really old photographs, he colored them, and then he kind of created layers out of them so you could kind of move a little bit with it and get more detail out of these pictures. And he has all these kind of words going on behind about what's going on and these different people. And he talks to some of the relatives of the people who were in these photographs. But it really shows you not exactly, but a realistic idea of what World War I was like, in a way that I could never understand why life isn't valuable, especially in war. And when you're watching that film, you get it. It's just oh, your life was literally valueless. Literally has no value. You don't even think it has value. You know that you're going to be fodder, and that's okay. And hearing it from these people directly with they have letters that they're reenacting with actors who have accents that are from the same locations as these people who are just in these photos. The amount of time and effort he went through to make this, it feels like a living, breathing piece of history. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Wow, sounds like the feel-bad movie of the year.
It makes you sad. Also, I paired it with Rambo First Blood,
Oh, excellent.
which brought a whole new context to PTSD. I was like, I'm in it. I'm in it with you guys. Totally. I understand. Both movies shined a greater light on one another.
Wow.
Oh, do a double bill. I recommend it.
My.
Start with Rambo.
Non-genre stuff, I really want to mention. Well, I think that Eric probably has Knives Out on his list.
Hell yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
yes.
good. Holy shit.
I
man.
just saw that.
Oh, did you?
Oh.
I did too, just see it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought Daniel Craig was a wonder. At first, I was like, what is going on with this over-the-top accent? And the fact that everybody else in the film was also going, what is going on with CSI KFC here?
I feel like I've never seen, well, I haven't seen a film in a while where that many people are having that much fun. Just playing to the extremes of, it felt like there wasn't any risk that they were worried about. Nobody was, bringing up old characters that they'd played before, like James Bond or famous horror survivor or anything. Like, it was just like, no, let's just have fun with it.
Yeah, and this is a Ryan Johnson film, so
very much.
So maybe he's a good filmmaker.
I am.
Let's see, Brick, Knives Out. Yeah, I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah. No, and I loved. I felt like the story was really well pieced together too. Like I just felt like the structure was much like One Cut of the Dead. It just had this beautiful little structure to it.
Well, and it's an odd structure because you're explained what is going on very quickly, and I was like, well, what is the rest of this movie going to be about now?
Yeah, I was like, why am I here? Should I leave? What am I supposed to do right now?
I'm still enjoying it, but I'm sitting there going, there's got to be something else that's going to happen.
Totally. It's like, if nothing else happened, I'm not sure.
Also, Don Johnson, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Talk about a comeback, right?
Yeah, he's been fun. Oh, I've got one that's a non-genre that's definitely worth seeing. Dolomite is my name.
I still have not seen this. What's taking me so long?
So much fun. It's by the same guy who did, what's the name of it?
Ed Wood.
Ed Wood made the film Ed Wood. Same writer. Got that same kind of fun. It's about making movie. It's just great fun to watch. Go watch it. Enjoy it. Smile. Laugh. Think, how close to the truth is it? Oh, I don't care. Let's just go. I also had Freaks on that.
Oh, on
that list. So sort of like, is it?
Yeah, I would probably have one more that I would love to recommend. Although I almost feel like you should have a trigger warning on it if you've ever been in love. So,
all right.
I'll be safe.
I figured you would be, Kelly. It's okay. Marriage Story was pretty phenomenal. I know that it's very divisive. I've heard a lot of people who said that they hated it. I completely disagree. But
this is on Netflix, right?
It is. Yeah, it's on Netflix. It did a theater run, but very quickly ran over to being an exclusive Netflix
the one with
event.
Kyle Ren?
It is.
Oh,
it is.
right.
Adam
Okay,
Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really a beautiful piece. I think it's a character study for sure. So it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but about two people who love each other a lot and are getting divorced. And it's just like, just because you can't be with somebody doesn't mean you don't love them anymore. And going through that experience with them is, I think I cried the entire time.
I mean, run right out and maybe not watch that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't. It's hard to recommend because it's like, man, if you just need to cry, though. I mean, girls who are listening, I guess maybe, but people who just need to cry and just let out some crying, like watch that film.
Hey,
It'll
if a
help.
movie's supposed to make you cry, I want to make me cry. Damn it.
Yeah.
I got one more. I think I'm going to toss out here that I just saw because it fits the stuff we're sort of making fun of with the art house, but I really enjoyed it anyways, which was Ad Astra. I think is how you say it.
Yeah, I really want to see that.
What's this guy's name?
that
He's
Brad
been
Pitt?
in a few things. Yeah, Brad Pitt, that guy. It's
I've heard
a
about
space
him.
film about a guy, a very Event Horizon kind of storyline, where his father went out on a deep space mission and disappeared. This is not spoilers given away very early in the movie. He disappeared. They think they found him. So they want, but he won't talk to anybody. So Brad Pitt's brought out to, who's a accomplished astronaut already, is brought out to try to communicate with him and get him to respond to the messages they're sending him. Because there's these strange pulses of power that are affecting Earth and they're colonized Mars and all the places like that. It's very slow, deliberately paced, as we say, but gorgeous stuff going on. Really incredible acting, and just I thought it was a really interesting film. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Well, I'll throw out a couple that just to mention. John Wick 3, I thought was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would have been my absolute favorite movie this year, except I had a little dark horse come in at the very end, and that is Jojo Rabbit.
Oh.
Jojo Rabbit's so good.
That became my favorite movie of the year.
Oh.
I was just, it's about a little boy who, during World War II, living in Germany, desperately wants to be part of the Hitler Youth Group, and his imaginary friend is Hitler. And, I remember hearing about this and thinking, this is going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And I think all the people that I thought it would piss off would probably love this movie.
Yeah.
Directed by Taika Waititi, who we know from What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People, and Thor, Ragnarok.
Oh yeah,
that little one.
Thor. Eagle versus shark. Don't.
He plays Hitler in this. So...
Yeah, I was actually really impressed by that because I was like, yeah, if you're going to be, brave / dumb enough to make a movie about Hitler, why not just throw yourself in that role and be like, yeah, no, I know what I'm doing, and I'm ready to take the guff.
Take the hit on this one.
Yeah, if anyone is going to, then it's my project.
Yeah, the fact that he makes Hitler buffoonish as only a 10-year-old boy's imaginary friend could be
so
is
good.
perfect.
Yeah.
And Scarlett Johansson also in this one. The amazing Sam Rockwell. I don't think he has
Always
ever been in a
good.
bad movie, and even if he has, he's the best part of it.
Yeah.
I just, that movie actually made me cry. So I loved it, and that was my favorite movie of the year.
Very cool.
Absolutely. I can totally see why. That movie is just powerful. It's strong. It's funny. It takes some interesting, unexpected, but brave turns. And it's a joy.
Well, shall we go into our, I don't know if we necessarily want to say worst, but our disappointments of the year kind of films?
This was a hard thing for me to think of because I was like, we were talking about, should we also mention our least favorite film of the year? And I was like, God, how do I do this? Do I say that this is... My pick is objectively not a bad film.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
It's got a bunch of good actors in it. I don't think they were acting their best, but I chose Dark Phoenix.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I think I chose it because this is the movie that had the most potential and completely failed at it. It's an amazing story, the comic book story, and I feel like they really just jammed everything they could into this, knowing that the X-Men franchise was going to be taken over by Disney. So,
this is the last time they could convince Jennifer Lawrence to be in
absolutely.
the film,
and in fact, she was just like, "Look, I'll do it, but you got to kill me off."
Yeah, it's really important, guys. It's real important.
And then, I don't know. This is just one of those movies that you come out of the theater, you're like, PU, who farted? This was the stinkiest thing I have seen all
Fox
year.
Kids can do a better version, a more
Absolutely.
heart-wrenching version than you've made a mistake.
Absolutely. Dark Phoenix, my pick for worst film of the year. Or least favorite.
Disappointment of the year. I'm going to say disappointment of the year for one. I talked about, I think, maybe even just the last episode or the one before it, but that Antrim, the deadliest film ever made.
Oh, right.
Oh, right.
Because there's so much, because the more I thought about it after talking about it on the show, the more I go, well, actually, this part's really good and that's really good. It would have been so easy to take 40 minutes of that hour and some odd minute movie and do some more face-to-face interviews, interject that, and it would have been fantastic. But it's just, because I'd been looking forward to that one for a couple years, or whenever I first heard about it. It seems like it's been a couple years, but I finally saw it. Oh my God, it's on. Damn it. So again, if somebody came up to me and said, "What the hell's wrong with you? It's a great movie," I couldn't argue against them, but it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
So you can't have a movie that says you watch it and die, and then, maybe they watched The Ring and thought, nobody died. Yeah, but people die in the movie from watching it.
Right.
So that doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, intersect to bring up the one that actually makes me angry just thinking about it. I'm like almost out of breath and I've not even said it yet. High Life. Another A24 picture. It's a science fiction piece, also starring Robert Pattinson. And it is...
Well, apparently you weren't the only one that felt that way, because I don't
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, I mean,
familiar
SIF
to
really
me.
touted it. Our local Seattle International Film Festival theater chain out here, they really like pulled it around, and I felt like I was hearing about it from all sides. But I'm also on the A24 newsletter, so I get like a million emails about everything that's coming out from them. It was just infuriating because it felt like you were supposed to be in this really beautiful, epic, interesting, well, maybe not epic, maybe small, I guess, little world on this tiny spaceship with these people who are kind of being experimented on. It's a bunch of prisoners on a ship going into deep space where they're testing a number of different modules. It's pretentious bullshit. It's literally lazy. It's literally lazy. Like, you're like watching it going, oh my God, and it's dark, and this girl's in the masturbation room, and holy shit. No, it doesn't mean anything. It means literally nothing. And every single plot point that they give you and present to you like it's some kind of important, interesting, epic thing, and the music is rising, you're like, yeah. No, it doesn't mean anything. And the more you think about it, the less it means, and the less sense it makes, and the more bullshit it is. It's just like for hipsters who like science fiction.
Wow.
Yeah. If you like this film, you're wrong.
Oh, my.
You can like Robert Pattinson. That's fine. You can like the idea. The concept is a cool concept. I was right there with you until the movie got, started. So this film was freaking awful.
Kind of want to see it now.
It's hard because I think it's directed by a female, and I hate to, shit on a gender that is trying to race through the ranks. But I'm sorry, this movie was awful, and you should do better. Try again.
Well, I'm just glad to hear that somebody else has a masturbation room. It's the kitchen, by the way.
No. I'm glad I'm sat on my coat.
Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the final episode of Strange Eons Radio.
Anything you guys are looking forward to seeing this year?
Oh, God, that's a completely different episode.
Yes,
Yeah,
so we almost
okay,
need a
that's
whole
fair.
episode
I was
for
just
that.
trying to find something positive.
Maybe
to-
that's episode 50. Films we're looking forward to.
How about we positively talk about what we're going to talk about next?
Right, that we're back to
Ooh.
regular programming, which I think throws the ball into your court, Vanessa.
It does. I've been thinking about this semi-long, not that long, but also
I gave myself 30 seconds to come up with a new topic.
I have a list, and I think this one was one of the newer editions, but I feel good about it. It's in movies that feature an invisible character of some kind.
Okay.
I'm calling it Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Ooh. I think there is actually a movie
There
with
is.
Kurt Russell.
There is.
Called Now You See
I almost
Me, Now
watched
You Don't.
it, but I did not.
Yeah, I remember that from the early Disney days. Okay, invisibility characters. Now you see me, now you don't. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for all of the great things. Happy New Year. I hope that we brought up a couple of films that maybe you had forgotten about or haven't seen. Let us know what you liked this year, because I'm always on the lookout. I can't wait to watch Little Monsters tonight. And then we will see you in a week. We're talking Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Our show is recorded live. Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Eons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts are found.